Well, welcome everyone to Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross, where we are your resource for education, connections, collaborations to support you on your wellness journey. And I would like to start by thanking our sponsor, Tim Wagner and Vibe, for it's these sponsored appearances that makes Mindful Mondays possible. So imagine waking up every morning filled with clarity, confidence, and purpose. If you're not waking up that way, then you're in the right place. After a transformative journey from burnout executive to international speaker and breathwork alchemist, Tim empowers business leaders to break free from the stress cycle and discover true meaning in their lives. With his innovative coaching methods, including the Professional Pointer Program and the Self Centric Cycle Framework, he guides individuals to tap into their inner strength and align with their authentic selves. And I am so excited that he decided to join us here today. So Tim, thank you and welcome.
Laura, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation and also for that amazing introduction. I listen, I go, wow, is that what I do? It's amazing.
I know it's magic because we all have this journey, right? That it gets there. And sometimes it's kind of hard to believe when you actually get there or how you got there. So maybe you can share that a little bit with people about what that was like going from burnout to finding your journey to where you are now.
Right. We've all got a mess, and I managed to turn my mess into my message. So it began just over 6 years ago. I was in the corporate world for 27 years in hospitality, doing the traditional thing and climbing that ladder. I also had businesses on the side, but most of the time I was in corporate. And in 2018, I don't know what started to change, but I couldn't handle that incessant stress. High functioning business I was running for many, many years. And it caught up with me so that I couldn't function. I wasn't able to sleep. I was sleeping, if I was lucky, 5 hours a night. My brain was always in a fog. My relationships were in tatters. Perhaps some of the audience recognize some of these things where you can't connect. I couldn't connect with my wife. The fact that we're still married is a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
My relationship with my son, he was a teenager at the time, was in tatters because even when I was at home, I was just not a nice person. I really wasn't. If any discussion was happening amongst friends and it wasn't about business, I couldn't relate. And when I was at work, I just couldn't see solutions. And I realized that if I stayed in that environment, I was either going to kill somebody, I was going to die, or I was going to get divorced. And it was just not acceptable. So I quit. One night, it was in April 2018, I walked out. It's done, it's finished. Wow. I said, I can't do this. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what burnout was. I didn't understand, but why after so many years as a business leader was I now struggling with stress and I couldn't handle it any longer? It just didn't make sense. Yeah. And that began my journey.
Was there a pivotal moment that like turned that on, or was it just up in that? You know, you do the work and work and work, but they don't ever necessarily realize it. I think people start to get used to it and think that this is normal, and they start to accept it as normal.
100%. I was accepting it as normal for many years, but then it was a culmination and a buildup of things that I don't think there was one pivotal point until one night when I said, that's enough, I'm done. This is not the way life is meant to be. This is not my life. I'm not here to live like this. I didn't want to lose my relationship with my wife and my family. I mean, why else do we work? Right. I was working to provide a better environment for them, but I was never there. And I was a miserable, I was going to swear there, fill in the gap. Here we go. Thank you. Get me out of it. So it was a culmination. But the other side of it is that I'd already started my own businesses in 2008. And I knew what else was possible. I just didn't know how to get there. Yeah. And it was a journey of discovery. I actually, when I left, when I walked out, I started to ask myself the questions, who am I? And why am I here? What is my purpose in the world? It can't be to be doing what I've been doing. There's got to be more. And that was a 4-year journey of inner discovery before I became on the path and the path I am now that's led me to speaking to you.
And that's an important point. Like you said, it's a 4-year journey that a lot of people would like to have this magical wand to wave and fix everything, but it takes time, and that self-discovery can take time as well.
And the key thing is that I didn't know how to access a coach. I didn't know there was other people that I could tap into. So it was a journey I was doing on my own, trial and error.
Wow.
So I'm now the person that I wish I'd had in my life in 2018, so that I can be a person to those who are in that environment, which is where it's talking to the leaders and teams in high stressed, high functioning businesses.
Yeah, and I love that because it's proof that it's never too late to make those changes and to start. So
it's not too late.
You are called the Breathwork Alchemist. So what exactly is that, and how does that title reflect in your approach in helping others?
Wow. I always say that breathwork found me, which is a bit strange because when I discovered breathwork, or breathwork discovered me, I'd been breathing for 50 years. And this guy I met online started talking to me about breathwork. And I thought, but what are you talking about, breathwork? What is breathwork? I don't know. I was a pretty healthy guy, but I've never done yoga before or understand these things. I thought, breathe, you breathe. How wrong was I? And we talk about pivotal moments in life where suddenly something just makes sense. And it happened to me because I was introduced by this guy, his name's Brian, to something called transformational breathwork journeys, which is an extremely intense 1 hour breathing state. It's sort of like a very deep guided meditation. So when I went on this experience, it was at a time in my life when I'd started to come to clarity and understanding of what I actually want to do. I just didn't know how to get there, which was coaching, which I've been doing for many years, but just to get serious about it. And I went on this journey, and it was as if a reset button had been hit for my mind, my body, and my soul. And it was the first time that I found I had clarity and peace in my heart and my mind, that I could actually see clearly of the journey I was going on. And it was so profound that I said, this is the missing piece of my puzzle. This is what I've been looking for, but I didn't know I was looking for it. So I went and studied breathwork and became a certified transformational breathwork guide. That's where the breathwork alchemy comes in, because I now have learned how to use the power of our God-given breath to create that activation inside of us to help us discover our path, release trauma and anxiety and stresses that we all carry, but we don't realize that it's holding us back.
Right.
It's our paradigms, our thinkings, our thoughts. Thinkings, is there a word? Our thoughts and our processes that we go through, all from previous experience. But the breath work in this specific modality that I focus and specialize in, that's the alchemy to you speak about the magic pill. Mm-hmm. We want the fast track. Well, I've discovered the breath work can help get us there so much quicker, because we can get out of our heads into our subconscious and release trauma and anxiety to then move forward in life instead of just being stuck. So that's the alchemy.
Nice. So, but you also mentioned that it was like an hour deep meditation.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like they don't even have a few extra minutes, let alone an hour. Is there breath work that you can do with people that is shorter, or is that hour necessary?
Well, it entirely depends on what you're looking for and where you're at. So you've got those short 60-second or 90-second breathing techniques. I call them breath hacks. There's ones that can lift you if you're feeling down, and there's ones that can calm you if you're stressed and anxious. And there's even ones that will help you sleep better, which is amazing. So those are phenomenal in the moment. So let's say that you've got a lot of stress and anxiety, and you're panicking about the specific presentation you've got to do at work, and you're just feeling that you're in a state of fear, fight, flight, that I don't know where to go, my mind's not thinking, how am I going to present this? So there's literally a 60-second breathing technique that you can do to calm mind and get mind and heart, what's called resonance, to calm so you can get clarity. Those are brilliant. The difference being of what I specialize in, I teach those, by the way, the 60-second ones, they're vital for your day. The difference being they will treat the symptom, whereas the deep breathwork journeys that I do treat the cause of what triggered you to react negatively in a stressful situation. in the first place.
Yeah, which makes sense. A lot of us don't ever seem to look at it that way. It's always just kind of a reactive, I think, thing, because it's like it comes up, got to fix it, and then you just like tuck it aside until the event comes up again. So doing that deep work is definitely very, very important. So when you have these overwhelmed, busy professionals, you mentioned the 60-second one. What are some practical breathwork techniques that they can do to incorporate in their daily routine?
Love that question. You know, one of the very first things that I discovered, which caught my attention around breathwork, was that when you breathe through your nose, it acts as a natural tranquilizer to your nervous system, calming you if you're stressed or anxious. So with my clients, the first thing I teach them, and when I do talks, I say, if there's one thing that you take away, so I'll share this with the audience. If you only remember one thing about Tim, it's that he told you to shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, breathe through your nose, it automatically starts to calm you. Because mouth breathing is part of anxiety and stress, fear, fight, flight. If you can imagine somebody having a panic attack or fear, you go, you're breathing here in and out your mouth. Shut your mouth, you can't breathe into your chest. It suddenly becomes your belly. And that's parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. So long, slow, deep breaths into your nose and out your nose or out your mouth through pursed lips. Some people struggle with breathing out their nose if they're in a panic state. That automatically calms. And if you can then bring your breathing down to counting in for 5 and breathing out for the count of 5, you'll calm your entire nervous system. And then your mind opens, you get more clarity. That's the first thing.
Yeah, and that's amazingly simple, and you would think we would know that, but so many of us like do this breathing, like someone else, they tell you take a deep breath. First thing you do is like open your mouth, and your chest fills up instead of your belly. Yeah. And it really does make a difference. You wouldn't think so, but it does really make a difference.
Correct. And profoundly quickly. And how magical is it that often in life, the simplest things give us the most profound results?
Yeah, we have a tendency to make everything hard, and it's really not that hard.
That was me. That's it.
How does your understanding of your true self to the practice of breath work, and why is that important for personal growth?
When I went on this journey, this breathwork journey, and I described it that it was the first time I had clarity. Once I had clarity, because I was out of my head and felt in a calm space, I could then start to think rationally about who I am and where I want to go in my journey of life. And that was a point I started to connect with other coaches, to realizing that I'd been doing this on my own for 4 years. Maybe I could get there on my own in another 2. Or what if I asked for help from other experts in the industry who have been there before me? And when I did that, then things started to fall into place, and I started to discover that true, authentic person I am inside. And I use a lot of other coaches' expertise from Dr. John DeMartini, who focuses on value principles. He's been doing it for 5 decades. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to follow what he does. 5 decades, he knows what he's talking about, and many others. And it was at that point that I started to discover who I am. Now, why is that so important? Why do people want to know, well, who are you? This is a fundamental piece in personal development that I believe has been missing. Now, noting I've been doing this for 16 years. Granted, it was mostly on the side of my job or within the business in coaching people, but I've always done presentations and coaching and personal development. But one of the things that I couldn't quite grasp was how, when people get given valuable information for personal growth and upliftment, they go, that's so good, it means a lot to me. But then when life happens, you go back to default. You run back to the place that you were trying to escape from in the beginning. And that bothered me. And what I worked out is that we focus so much on why we're doing it and what we're doing, but we haven't focused on who we are first. The analogy I use is the GPS. Everybody knows a GPS. You want to drive from one place to another place. You open your GPS and the GPS says, here you are. Where would you like to go? And you say, well, I want to go. I don't know. I'm in South Africa, so I live in Cape Town, and I'll say Durban, which is 1,500 kilometers away or so. And the map, the GPS says, there's your journey. That's the route, right?
Mm-hmm.
So personal development, people start and they get given these programs and the information, and they create goals where they want to go. So they know the destination, but they don't know where they're beginning from. They don't know where they're starting. So you can't open up the GPS and say, I want to drive to Durban. And the GPS says, where are you? You say, I don't know. GPS says, well, where do we begin? I say, I don't know. You decide. So you get given this information, but built on an infertile foundation, built on not knowing your beginning place. So that's where starting with the foundation of understanding deeply who you are, why you do what you do, why you react the way you do to situations, your paradigms, your programming, your thoughts, your beliefs, your understandings, your personal values. And here's the thing. After many years, I've worked out that about 80 to 85% of people have no idea who they truly are outside of the programmed state from preachers, teachers, parents.
Yes.
You are living in a place of inauthentic people wearing masks.
I would have to agree. We do what we think we're supposed to do and not what we're truly meant to do or what we feel like we're truly meant to do. We don't even think about it, I don't think.
Yeah, we don't. And here's a place of stuckness, of inauthenticity, of strife, struggle, and stress, because you're not being authentic. And you can only wear a mask for so long before something starts to break down. And that was my story. I had been wearing a mask when I was in corporate. Friends and family saw very successful, beautiful house, new car, overseas holidays, money in the bank, going out for dinners, wonderful. But it was a mask inside. I was dying.
Yeah.
I was absolutely dying because I wasn't living an authentic person. I wasn't operating a business that I was passionate in and connected in values. It was outside of my true nature. And that's where you discover, you realize that something's not right, but I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. And I think when you discover your true self, I think it allows you to really shine and not get the shiny object syndrome, because we tend to just follow whatever path, but it may not even align with you, but you keep going down different guidance. So yeah, I would say discovering your true self is probably pretty much at the core of everything. Would you not?
Without question. And that's why the foundation of personal development should always be about the discovery of self first and then build. It's the same as a farmer doesn't go and plant new crops on the infertile ground from last year. He needs to go and take out the old roots, the rocks. He needs to fertilize. He needs to turn the soil. He needs to prepare it. The same way in our minds, we need to prepare ourselves. We need to remove all of the limitations. We need to remove all of the paradigms. And it was Einstein who said that you're not going to be able to, okay, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. If you want to change your results, you can't get there from the same mindset that you had, and the thinking that you had got you to where you are presently. So if you're not happy with where you are, you need to change how you think. That's the question. How do you change how you think? Not so easy when you're doing it on your own, unless you follow a program which says, right, we're going to help you through this because it's about changing your paradigms, how you see things. Once you change how you think, how you see things, you're changing internally, because it's an inside-out job. It's an internal job. Once you're changing your internal state, you react differently to the world around you. Then the world reacts differently to you. But it starts internally.
It does. It reminds me of that saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right?
That's Einstein. Hey, that was him. That was what I was trying. That's
Yeah, that's the definition of insanity. That's one I know well, and I think a lot of us exercise it well. We need to break away from that. But in your experience, what common misconceptions do people have about breath work, and how can we overcome them?
Oh, wow. Great question. Tree hugging hippie. yoga, sit there and do this for no, that's the common perception about it. One of the great people that has been breaking away from this has been Wim Hof. He specializes in that deep water, the ice water therapy, where you do the deep breathing and then you go into the ice water. When he first, decades ago, started this, he was ostracized. He was absolutely hated. He had hate mail, the whole works. People told him he's mad. What are you doing? This breathing thing, it's dangerous. As soon as he attached the science behind it, that's when people started to understand and gain belief. So there is a big misconception, but it's changing and changing rapidly as people, I'm finding, are looking for alternative, more natural, holistic ways of healing, of managing trauma and anxiety and stress. And breathwork over the last, I'd say 6 to 8, maybe 10 years has been one of the most Googled and searched for modalities in holistic healing and holistic well-being in itself. So it is changing. Here's what I suggest. Try it. Try it. I had a gent, I think maybe last year, I was doing a talk, and he said right at the beginning, this breathing thing, he doesn't believe it. And I said, absolutely no problem, sir. Hold your breath for the time of my talk, and let's review how you think afterwards. He didn't come back to me. He didn't say anything. I don't know if he took me up on the challenge and fainted, but here's the thing. Investigate. Find out for yourself. Feel it. I invite all my guests, all my clients to attend a breathwork journey. Feel it for yourself. I can describe it, but experience trumps words. Then you decide how valuable it is for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. And it's free. It takes very little time. That doesn't take anything to, even attempt or try that challenge. So yeah. Wow. Well, we have a lot more. I know we're going to dig into more about your programs and some of the stuff that you've done for, your clients and stress relief and stuff, but we got to take a quick break from a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Relief for PTSD, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and many other ailments. Introducing Vibe, the world's only pocket PEMF device. You place in your pocket while cooking, cleaning, relaxing, watching TV, sitting at your computer, reading, or walking. Self-contained standalone device. No drugs. No other phone or Bluetooth connections required. No monthly subscription fees. No apps to download. No Bozone. The future of medicine is in the frequencies. Come join the revolution.
As a leader in business, are you feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, and struggling to sleep as your mind does not switch off? Are your relationships suffering as you feel angry and disconnected from those around you? Hi, my name is Tim Wagner. I'm a former burnt-out corporate professional, now turned international speaker and breathwork alchemist. I now help business leaders and their teams break free from the cycle of stress that is life, to rediscover clarity, have more energy and peace of mind without adding to your workload. So scan this QR code over there or click the link below for us to connect so I can find out how I can help you.
So Tim, you always emphasize the importance of clarity and confidence. How does the breath work contribute to developing these qualities in individuals?
So we're going to delve a little bit into how our body works. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason. I'm going to answer the question, but sort of it's going to feel a little bit long way around.
Okay.
See, when we're in a stressed state, we're breathing in and out our mouths. We're activating the sympathetic nervous system called fear, fight, flight. Now, our bodies have been designed to react instantly to situations of panic or fear. The eons ago, the decades, centuries ago, of being chased by a lion or the tiger in the fields. You need to be able to act quickly so your body releases stress hormones, right? Adrenaline and cortisol is released immediately into your body. So your muscles have got the energy to run, fear, fight, flight. And at that point, your body takes the oxygen from your prefrontal cortex, from your brain, because you don't need to think now, you need to react. There's no thinking. So this is what happens when we're in a state of fear, fight, flight, or panic. Now, here's the problem. In modern society, in the world we're living in, with cell phones and 5G technology and family drama and business crisis and government issues all hammering us all the time, we're living in a state of constant fear, fight, and flight, and our bodies are not designed to remain there. It's like having your car when you're driving down the motorway and you're in first gear and you've got your foot flat out. It's going to burn out. The engine's going to pop. And that's what happens with us, is that we end up by burning out because we're not giving ourselves time to calm and reset just because of the world we live in. So when you're looking for clarity, you're not going to find it when you're in a panic state. Have you ever had an argument with somebody that is getting so angry you can't seem to get them to think straight, or you're not thinking straight? You go, well, there's no point in me talking to you when you're angry.
No, sometimes you have to just walk away, and recollect.
Exactly. But here's why. You see, in that state of that anger, they're operating in sympathetic nervous system. There's no oxygen going to the rational thinking mind. The body's taken it away. So you can't have a rational discussion with a person who is in a panic state. You have to calm first. Allow the oxygen to flow back to the brain in a parasympathetic state where you're then in rest and digest. Calm, rational thinking. It's physically, we've been designed this way, that you can't think. Why not? There's no oxygen. Well, not no oxygen, I'm exaggerating. But the oxygen is reduced because your body says the oxygenated blood is needed to your muscles so that you can fight or flee. You need to be in a calm state. With the breath work, it can bring you down into that calm state, which then opens the clarity. So then you're able to find the answers that you're actually seeking.
So say someone is in one of those situations, what would be your suggestion to them? I've heard some things about just taking a few seconds, like instead of quickly reacting out your mouth. I mean, do you have a technique or pause, you walk away? I mean, what would your tip be for somebody that's experiencing that a lot?
The tip is it's the work you do before that occurs. Now, here's why. In that moment that, let's say it's an argument, a discussion, a heated discussion. In that moment, are you actually going to stop and think, oh, breathe? Probably not, unless you've trained yourself that way. Now, if you do catch yourself and you go, hold on, this is getting quite intense, I want to remain calm. And before you get there, simple thing, shut your mouth, breathe through your nose. In the meeting, in the boardroom, you can sit there, eyes open, but in your head, you're going, breathe in. Everybody else goes crazy around you, but inside you can calm, you're breathing in your nose, slowly out your mouth, the slower that you can do it, and you'll find yourself coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down. And then you can hear the noise, but not be involved in it. So what I also do to help, what I highly recommend, especially if somebody's being introduced to breath work for stress and anxiety release, if they're living a high-strung environment, like a lot of my clients do in the corporate world, and also the high-strung teams, or even salespeople, is get a practice of 3 times a day for 60 seconds. That's all. Even a person in a very busy environment, you've got 60 seconds 3 times a day. Maybe it's while you're sitting in traffic. Turn off the radio. And in that moment, just for 60 seconds, focus on your breath in your nose and imagine that oxygen is going into your heart. And when you're breathing out, that you're releasing any anxieties. And then you breathe in slowly and you count to 5. Because when you're counting into 5 and out to 5, that means you're slowing your breathing down to only 6 breaths a minute, which is actually all that we need. You won't get breath hungry. You're not going to faint, nothing like that. You're going to feel a lot calmer. But if you can practice it before you need it, then in that moment, you're going to be able to react in a lot calmer state already, because you'll the programming. You're programming your subconscious mind. Habit, repetitive.
Right. So when you're
So,
breathing in, you're actually kind of visualizing it as well.
yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. Here's a very important tip, which I find a lot of, if you go Googling breathing techniques, a lot of people don't focus on, is that it's not only the breathing, but it's the visualization of the breath into your nose and down, either into your heart or into your belly. Breathing in, belly goes out, belly comes in. When you focus on it, and then you're counting. In your head, you count. See, when you're focusing on your breathing and you're counting, you can't think of anything else. So all that other stuff which was going around in your head, that spinning wheel, that roller coaster ride, that hamster going round and round, it'll slow down because you're not going to be able to think about all of that and focus on your breathing and count. So it's an important
makes sense. It forces you to be present, really.
Forces you to be present, 100%.
Nice. So I would imagine breathwork can play a pretty good role in enhancing someone's productivity for business leaders or teams, right?
Definitely having a practice. While at the same time, it's not the magic pill.
Right.
Breathing, huge foundation, but there's other things which you need to add to that. But I firmly have found that beginning with the breath helps people very quickly calm and be able to focus and rationally think, what else do I do next? So breathwork is part of a foundation of a change of how you do things. It's not just breathing and nothing else. It's a great foundation. So when it comes to high functioning teams who are operating in like a lot of sales teams or people on serious deadlines with projects, one of my clients that I have now, they're going through integrating a whole new operating system throughout the organization. And the team is operating under high deadline. So it's a large team under extreme deadlines for it. And this is on top of their normal workload. So they've added more in. So they've got pressure of this deadline because they've got to hit it by a certain point. Plus, they're busy dealing with all the normal stresses of life, family drama, the issues, the traffic, the dog ate the kid's bunny rabbit, all that stuff goes on. I don't have enough money for Christmas. We want to go on holiday, all this stuff. Plus, they got the workload.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So that's where it's daily, small, integral practices that are required. It's not just once off, breathe, right, off you go, bye-bye, have a good life. No, it doesn't work that way.
No, there's more to that. But maybe you can share an example of how your coaching methods have transformed someone's approach to their stress, self-awareness. Maybe give us a little more detail on how that works.
So one of my recent clients, her name is Cecilia. She was referred to me by a prior client, which is great testimony, referral. But when she came to me, I saw immediately, and I met her in a coffee shop, just a neutral environment. We didn't know each other, and we were just sitting there. It was a quiet corner. And just by her posture, her demeanor, I could see that she was on the verge of burnout, just how her language. And I asked her a simple question. I said, Cecilia, who are you? And she was fighting back the tears unsuccessfully. Her eyes were welling up. I could see it was very intense. And she said, Tim, I've got no idea anymore. I'm absolutely lost. And I was able to, just with the foundation of breathing and the breathing practice I've described with the transformational journey, help her to find a bit of peace and calm and reset her nervous system. We then worked for a couple of months, not only about personal development, but also about her releasing her trauma that she'd been carrying. She'd been carrying trauma from the past. It wasn't only the business drama. She runs a massive business not far from where I live. Her family owns a huge shopping precinct, and she's in charge of it. I think there's 50 tenants and everything else and all the dramas that come with it. And it was a lot of that had been built up, but on top of a lot of trauma from many, many years before. And this is what people sometimes misrepresent or misunderstand. Why do I feel like this now when I was fine a few years ago? Because the unresolved traumas, issues from the past, fears, doubts, don't disappear. It's helped as trapped energy in your body and will ultimately at some point come out. It can manifest as dis-ease, heart problems, lung problems, blood pressure issues, digestive issues, but it's going to come out unless you deal with it. So when it came to Cecilia, it didn't take long. It was only a couple of months when she started to find clarity and able to deal with issues and then say no, but confidently. One of the biggest problems that we have is the fear of saying no. We always want to say yes to everything and put other people first. And she turned around one day and she said, Tim, I've realized that I'm the most important person in my life. For without me, I'm no good to my family. Without me being strong, I can't help them. My kids, I'm not there for them if I'm not. So me first, not everybody else first. And that was a massive shift in her realization that she was the only person standing in her way of the success, the peace, the fulfillment that she wanted in life.
Wow.
There's so many stories that can be shared. Everybody's journey is unique. But I found that it always starts with the breath work. Because when I add, as I said earlier on, when I added the breath work to my personal development program, that's when the magic comes. That's sort of the fast activator that people are looking for. Although it's a journey and there's no get well quick scheme,
No.
it's most definitely a massive transformation.
Wow.
Can I share sort of a sideline bonus that I've discovered and which humbles me?
Absolutely.
It's the power of healing that our bodies have got. Laura, when you cut yourself, you get a plaster.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of days later, you know it's healed, right?
Right.
So why don't we allow our bodies to do the rest of the healing naturally? Why don't we trust our natural inbuilt healing system that we've been gifted? God gifted us, universe, whoever. We've been created and built in a certain way. I'm humbled continuously by the power that when you're out of your conscious mind and you're calming and your nervous system resets through the breathing practices, that healing can happen. So a client of mine, she's from the UK. She did a breathwork journey, and she's been struggling for decades with a trapped nerve in her neck. She works online. She's a VA, so she's permanently sitting on her laptop, permanently leaning forward. Your listeners may recognize this, or viewers. Mm-hmm. Then your head drops, your mouth's open, you're breathing into your chest, tension here, tension in your neck. Go to a massage. She's been for years been going every week for a massage to loosen it.
Right.
She did one breathwork journey. She messaged me. She said, Tim, I normally wake up, my pain threshold, 100%. I take my painkillers, I go for a massage, I do my stretches, it drops to about 60. She said, but after the breath work, I woke up and my pain was at 20%. She said, I don't remember the last time my pain was only at 20%. See, the tension had been released. And when the tension in her back and her neck was released, she no longer had the trapped nerve. 4 days afterwards, she messaged me and she says, Tim, I haven't had pain for 3 days. I'm expecting it to come back. She identified as a person in pain. I am in pain all the time was her words. So it was an identity. And she was feeling, okay, when's this coming back? When's this coming back? It's sort of, and she messaged me after 4 days, or after the 4 days, 3 days after she told me 20%. She said, it's not come back. And I said, amazing. I'm humbled by this, but this is just putting our bodies in a natural state for able to heal themselves. And there's amazing things that can happen from there. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor at all. That's not what I'm here for. That's not my expertise. That's why I'm saying this is a sideline bonus. I never started breathing in this breath work for that. But the physical benefits and the health benefits have been humbling and profound. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And I understand that cycle when you get in that. Years ago, I've been through that where they want to give you painkillers, muscle relaxers, injections, and it's like no more. And there's, like you said, there is so much that we can do ourselves. The body does have the natural healing. And I think bringing awareness to that and recognizing it is a big start also. Because I've caught myself times where my thoughts went somewhere and all of a sudden it's like you instantly start to feel things tighten up in your body. And it's like, okay, but I realized it was the thoughts that were creating. If I can change my thoughts, do the breathing and do that, you can make a change.
You can. It starts. Deepak Chopra talks about the fact that our physical state, our physical body, physiology, is a representation of our thoughts and our beliefs. What you think and what you believe manifests in your body. So exactly what you're saying. Hang on a second, I'm catching myself. I feel myself getting tense. My shoulders are going, whatever it may be. My gut, ladies, a lot of ladies, the gut, because you're taught to suck in your stomach, peer thinner.
Yeah.
So you breathe poorly. It's wow. It's a pandemic around the world is poor breathing or reverse breathing. So once you understand that you are a byproduct of your thoughts and beliefs, once you learn then how to change your thoughts and beliefs, you're going to change over time your physiology.
So you have so much knowledge and experience in this. I believe you're planning on writing a book, are you not? Is that what's going to be in your book?
I actually wrote an ebook earlier in the year, From Burnout to All Out in 60 Seconds, where there's a lot of information techniques. I'd love to share that with everybody. And that talks a lot about the stress hacks and breathing things that we speak about. And great, there's my LinkedIn details on the screen there as well. So reach out to me. Happy to share that. That gives a lot of insight. But yeah, we all got a book inside of us. So I do have one. In fact, are you referring to this, what's behind me here, Laura?
I am. I believe we were talking a little bit about that. If we can mention that.
I've had in my mind to take my coaching program and write it as a book for a while, but it's stuck in here. So I was reading a book by, I can't remember the author now, it'll jump to mind just now. Do I have it here somewhere? And what he spoke about was that get the clear visualization of the book. So I thought, okay, how do I visualize this book? So I created the cover and I created the back. And I wrote there exactly what people are going to say about my book. So this is my book, The Stress Principles, how to go from who you are to who you want to be. Now, there's nothing in it yet, but this is the book that will be written in 2025. So I thought, I'm going to create the cover. It feels amazing holding it, manifesting. Here we go.
There you go.
And here it sits. Thank you for asking.
I think that's one. I love that title too. That's a great title. So can you tell us a little more? So you said you're in South Africa, but you have clients all over. So the work that you're doing, you can work with people anywhere they're at if they would like to connect with you, correct?
Everywhere. I've got clients in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US. I'm busy working on a client base in the UK. Everything I do is online. I do professional speaking as well, where I speak to audiences either virtually or in person. But when it comes to the breathwork online, I don't need to be in person with you. When it comes to the full transformational journeys, you're lying down in the comfort of your own home with your headphones on, listening to me and breathing and following my guidance. It's as simple as that. I'm there to hold that energetic space and be there should there be a question afterwards or the next day. This came up. Is that normal? I found this. I've just actually finished a session with a client who attended a journey on Monday. And it was her first one, and she had a whole lot of realizations. I was nearly not able to attend here. Well, not that I wouldn't be able to attend, but she was talking about so much clarity, and she had so many questions. And all I said was, just breathe into it. You don't need to analyze. Let it go. Do you feel peace, more at peace? Yes. Were you able to forgive? There was an issue she was dealing with the ex. She says, I was. And just some of the discussion, she was like, wow, I am calm. I didn't argue yesterday. That's interesting. Sometimes that discussion for that clarity is important. So over Zoom, everywhere in the world, 100%, using technology.
that is amazing too, because like you said, analyze. That's probably, I would think, well, at least some people that are heady overanalyze things. You find that helps keep them stuck also?
Most definitely. We try and find the solution to the problem in here. The solution's not in here. It's outside of here. It's either in your heart, intuitively, but when you're thinking about it all the time, you're blocking your intuition. If you are spiritual, the answer could be coming from God, the universe, somewhere else, into you. But if you're consciously trying to think on it and find that solution, here's a simple example. Have you ever forgotten someone's name? You think, what is that name? What is that name? Or forgotten where you, and then you stop thinking about it, and suddenly that name pops in your head. Like just now, Jack Canfield. I couldn't think of the author of the book. I was thinking about it. What was the author? Was it Jack Canfield? There we go. It's just popped in. Why? Because I stopped thinking about it, and then boom, the answer came.
Yeah, mine's normally like in the middle of the night. It's like pops. It's like at the most inopportune times.
Yeah, that can happen.
But so, what would be your advice to people that have trouble getting out of their head?
The first is meditation. But the people who are struggling to get out of their head are going to say, but I can't lie down or sit there and meditate and think of nothingness. That's just not possible. And I get that because I've been meditating for many, many, many years, even when I was in corporate. And I would often struggle because my mind wouldn't slow down. So that first thing is when you Google it, how do I calm my mind? Meditate. Come on. If I could do that, I wouldn't be in the state I'm in now. So it's a combination of things. When you're doing, for example, the breath work that I work on, that calms the mind. It can take 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But the style of breathing and the combination of the active breathing, the listening, and also then I combine it with music. So it's communication, which is NLP, called neuro-linguistic programming, with music and breathing. The combination of that means that you're slowly going to get out of your head and calm. I had a client recently who said that I put her hamster to sleep. She described her thinking mind, this overactive mind, as a hamster running on a wheel, over and over and over. And she says it doesn't go to sleep even when I'm lying down in bed. So I said, Tim, you put my hamster to sleep. Please don't wake it up again. So there are things. Finding a calming space is not always easy because your mind can keep going. Finding a combination, and YouTube's got a lot of them as well. I'd say find a combination guided meditation where you can focus on somebody else's words. That will help. But here's the thing, stick to it. Don't stop. At the beginning of, as with everything you practice, you're going to find it difficult. Your mind is going to say, why are you doing this? This is stupid. You're ridiculous. You can't do this. That's your ego mind. Your ego mind wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you in the same space. Your ego mind says, but we've been doing it this way for years. What's your problem? Why are you doing it now? But inside, something says this is not right. But your ego mind is going to carry on trying to take over. Here's the thing. You are in control of your ego mind, but we don't realize it. The ego is that constant thinking. It's the 5% that of our brain that is active thought.
Right.
You need to be able to calm that mind, which is not always easy. Stick to it. Find a practice and keep following through. Then you start finding the benefits. But if you are starting a new journey of well-being, inner health, of looking at yourself, of focusing on yourself, just remember, you've got decades of thinking one way. You're not going to resolve it overnight, not even in a week or 2 weeks or a month. It's a process. It's a journey. Stick to it.
Yeah, it's like anything. You have to stick to it, make it a habit, and then it becomes more of a new way of life, because too many times I think we start something and then we wind up stopping. Like you said, we go back to back to the old ways. But if you didn't like the old ways, the only way to change it is to create that new habit. So we have a few minutes left. What advice would you give to someone who feels skeptical about the effectiveness of breath work in their lives?
Hold your breath for 10 minutes and see what happens. No, it's that.
Yeah, a lot of people passing out.
Yeah, well, not a good idea. Yeah. You need to be open-minded enough to know that in the East, China, India, Japan, they've been doing breathwork practices for centuries, way before this modern medicine things kicked in with drugs and all that type of stuff and take a pill. Long before. Healthiest nations in the world. Why? Still are. Why? Perhaps there's something that they know which you don't know. So here's the thing. if you're looking for a new avenue, a lot of my clients, I was asked this in a talk recently, Tim, how many of your clients that come to you are on or have been on antidepressants? And it was the first time I actually sat and looked at it, and I worked out about 80%, specifically female, not always, but mostly 80%, are on some form of antidepressants or have been and are wanting to get off them or are on them because they've said it does not serve me. I can't think, I'm not sleeping. One client said I can't swallow because of what these antidepressants are doing for me. I understand there's a time and a place, don't get me wrong. But for the people who are saying, well, what alternative is there? Because these aren't curing me. They're not solving the cause, they're masking it. I want an alternative. When you're at that point, then you start to investigate.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's what I've always told people is like medicine has its place. We're not saying it doesn't, but when you have that opportunity to put more holistic things in and heal yourself naturally and not have to depend on that, because those can create a lot of problems as well. So there's a lot that we have the control to do. We just have to step out and do it.
100%, without question. And in the end, it's natural. You breathe every day. It's God-given. Give it a
But
try.
are you breathing right? Are you breathing the right way? That's the
So here's a final word from your sponsor. Find a coach who acts as accountability partner, somebody who's on the journey with you. It makes a huge difference. I mentioned earlier in my journey, 4 years, I tried to battle this on my own before I realized this is crazy. I need to start reaching out to people who've got the expertise and who can also then hold me accountable. So that's a key thing, is accountability. I won't start working with anybody unless they are 100% accountable for themselves emotionally and also committing the time. If you do that, you stay the path, that's where it's going to change. But doing it on your own, YouTube, great. Read a book, wonderful. But we all know how to lose weight, but yet how many people actually do it? So it's finding somebody who's going to walk the path with you that'll make the huge difference.
Absolutely.
That's what I was.
Yep. And the support. And I want to thank you for sharing your journey and all of your knowledge with us. We do have your LinkedIn up there in the corner. That's where you're most active, I believe, where people can connect with you. Obviously, you have someone in your corner. So if you are struggling with any of the things that we have talked about, reach out to Tim. You can see he's very knowledgeable and, get that support that you need, because we all want to see people living healthier and stress-free lives, which is a little difficult nowadays a lot of times. So I'm glad we have people like you around. Thank you, Tim, very much.
Thank you so much. I've got a new tagline for the coming year.
What is that?
Time to thrive in 25 and no longer survive.
I like that. That is a good point. We need to thrive and not just survive. So thank you again for joining us. And everyone, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will catch you next time.